For today, in the name of freedom, we take the battle to them.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a Conjuring video. I was not expecting to make one, honestly, for at least like a year. Because after the Conjuring last rites, there wasn't really any sort of big news that, was happening. And realistically, the only thing that we've heard so far is there's maybe a TV show in the works, a prequel movie, things like that. But this is concrete evidence that, obviously this franchise is going to continue. Of course, we knew that. I mean, The Last Rites isn't the end to this franchise. It is simply the end of Ed and Lorraine Warren, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. Of course, there have been lots of ups and so many downs in this franchise. And, an entry that, some people deem, oh, is it there, is it not, is The Curse of La Llorona. Now, of course, apart from the first 3 Conjuring movies and the first Annabelle, I watched I watched this entire universe this year. And obviously, both The Nun and The Curse of La Llorona, I had just heard for so long how god-awful they were. Now, I don't think that Curse of La Llorona is as bad as people say, but there are a lot of horrible decisions here. First of all, La Llorona as an entity, I think, is pretty creepy looking. I do think that she is creepier looking than Valak, but the movie essentially just reduces her to jump scares. And that is because Michael Chavez, obviously, I don't know about anything about him as a person, but I can say that as a horror director, he absolutely sucks. He does not know how to craft great scares. That, and it has like the dumbest fucking characters in all of horror history. But yeah, it sort of felt like a one and done, little spin-off movie, right? One that they couldn't even decide whether it was in the Conjuring universe or not, despite Annabelle literally being in this movie. So imagine my bloody shock when I am playing the new Fortnitemares and I just decide to go on Twitter because I died, obviously. And what do I see? The Curse of La Llorona sequel is now in production. Look, again, I think that this movie was overhated. Definitely don't think it was, very good. But I don't really see any sort of need to continue this franchise, or this with this entity at least. But there was an article that was released, of course, by The Hollywood Reporter. And this basically, I would say gives a general idea of the movie, but realistically, this is what, any sort of horror sequel would do with a titular villain. But it also speaks of the people, who are a part of this movie. So some important things to mention here are, this movie did start production this week in Buffalo. So that's cool. But also it does give some of the cast members. Of course, we are getting Raymond Cruz back. Tuco. Tight, yeah. He was on the first movie, kind of a quirky little character, who sort of ended up being, a bit alright. But yeah, he's back. At least we are getting a returning character. Monica Raymond from Chicago Fire. I did not watch that show, so I don't actually know anything about this actress, apart from the fact that she is stunning. But the biggest one for me was Jay Hernandez, who was, he played Magnum PI in the newer iteration of Magnum, which, from what I understand, has been cancelled. So yeah, it's good because after like season 3, that show sort of like plummeted in quality. So yeah, it's gonna be nice to see him doing some more serious stuff. Although I will be honest with you, he is the main reason why I end up wearing the shirts that I love. You know those Hawaii, little like big shirts that I wear? He's the main reason why I love those shirts. Almost every video where I have a face cam, that is what I will be wearing. But basically the rest of this article sort of just, gives like a recap of, oh yeah, the first movie was directed by Michael Chavez, yada yada yada. He went to go move on to the Conjuring movies and then Nun 2. none of which were very good. Scare wise, I think the Last Rites was fantastic in terms of the drama and the family. But the most important part of this article, apart from the cast announcements, is it also gives the title of this movie, and that is The Revenge of La Llorona. It says the story sees the vengeful spirit La Llorona returning, forcing a fractured family to confront their past and join forces with their estranged curandero? I don't know how you say that word. Grandfather to battle ancient evils before the weeping woman claims their children forever. So that does sort of confirm that we are not getting the previous characters back, which is good because they were fucking dumbasses. Especially the children, they should have died. Please God, I was hoping for, like, this is like like Game of Thrones Joffrey level hate for these children. Like, please have them choke and die. Oh my God, that would be amazing. But yes, even though we are getting Raymond Cruz back, this is not going to follow the family from the first film, which, again, happy about. And also, it does sort of give us a fresh take on this, because when you have returning characters in a horror movie, you have to do it properly, because otherwise you will just fall into this trap of, we got to do, trauma. They're suffering with trauma the whole movie, and then once this thing comes back, they get like panic attacks, and they just struggle from the trauma. They love the word trauma. So yeah, I'm very, very happy that we are getting new characters, because this, of course, will allow us to maybe be more attached to these people and their situation, as opposed to the family from the first film. One thing to note is that this movie is not directed by Michael Chavez. It is being directed by the director who brought a short film titled Milk. Now, I have never heard of this short film, of course, so I cannot speak for the quality of this director, but I am always up for having lesser known people, you have a shot at least, because I would rather this happen than have Michael Chavez do it again, because this man has established that he is a crap horror director. None of the movies he's made are scary, and at least if this guy does, even if this is worse than the first one, at least we'll know that they gave someone else a chance. But that's just my opinion on the matter. Of course, I know people, may like Michael Chavez's movies. Who knows? As much as I like to crap on his films, of course, there are people who will defend them. And honestly, I can't really, give you guys flack for that. But please, please, do not just reduce her to being just jump scare after jump scare. That was the problem with the Nun, and well, also the Nun too. Is that they have these entities, both Valak and La Llorona, very similar entities. I'm gonna be honest with you. These pale women with glowing yellow eyes. The only difference is Valak is in a nun attire, whereas La Llorona is in she's in a bride's dress. They are very, very similar, and they both just get reduced to just jump scares. Valak in The Conjuring 2 was freaking awesome. The La Llorona does have that potential, but of course they are not going to, Hollywoodify it like with Valak, because the La Llorona is based off of a real, Spanish folklore, a folktale. Sorry. So yes, that is it's an interesting bit of news. I'm honestly quite surprised. I never expected them to make a sequel to this movie, especially considering they couldn't figure out as to whether they wanted it in the Conjuring universe or not. But from my perspective, I don't know how you can watch that movie and say that it's not in the universe, because the priest is there. He mentions Anna, well, he doesn't mention her by name, he says Adol, but they show you flashbacks of Annabelle. So yeah, man, I'm interested. I'm cautious about it. I don't have the highest hopes. I have a feeling this is going to be a Nun 2 situation where it is going to be better than the first, but not by a huge margin, because the standard was already basically on the floor. So yes, please let me know what you guys think of the Revenge of La Llorona. We're actually getting a sequel to the first movie. And also let me know what you guys think of the cast members here. We have our Magnum PI. Just anything and everything. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. And if you did enjoy this video, then please leave a like, subscribe, and goodbye.